Alrighty, today I'm going to show you how to disassemble the Ruger Mark II bolt. When I say disassemble, I mean take everything out. See on YouTube all the time videos that say disassemble, reassemble, but they don't really show you how to disassemble and reassemble. Yesterday, I tried to take this apart, put it back together. Took me 5 hours to put this completely back together. Most of you probably already know how to do this, but I didn't. Try to look on YouTube, people doing it. Nobody showed you exactly how you do it, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So this is going to be a very quick video on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Before I begin, somebody once told me that before you begin working on your firearms and cleaning, maintenance, things like that, the very first, most important thing you need is a good cup of coffee. So, what I got here, a good cup of coffee. Thank you, Howard, for that piece of advice. Alright, first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take this hairspring out. This one. Very simple. If you guys are watching this video, I'm sure you already know how to do this. If not, it's very simple. I use tools instead of just trying to twist and turn with my fingers. My fingers are delicate. Next thing you want to do, take this pin out. This pin here is the pin that holds in your firing pin. Underneath the firing pin is a little spring. So be careful when you take this out, that this firing pin and the spring underneath it don't just go flying everywhere. Take that out. Firing pin and spring underneath should just fall right out. There it is. Here's a little spring and a little tiny plunger that's underneath the firing pin. Alright, next thing, extractor. Now, this can be a very big pain in the butt if you don't have the right tools, which I do not have. I did see on YouTube that they do make a 4-in-1, I think it's called a 4-in-1 tool. I don't know who makes it or where you can get it from. But with this tool comes a little pin, if you will. You unscrew a cap. There's a little reinforced stainless steel rod that you can push down beside the plunger here in this little tiny hole. I know it's hard to see because my video quality sucks, but it's all I got. So deal with it. There's a little tiny hole beside the extractor. That tool comes with a little pin that you can use to push the plunger down far enough to get this extractor out. Well, I don't have one of those, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. This can be very tedious and very hard to accomplish. It might take you a couple times to get that out. But once you get that far enough in, this firing pin should just fall right out. Unless it's extremely dirty, you might have to get a pair of pliers and pull it out. Yes, I know, I might be scratching this up a little bit, but I don't care. It's a firearm. It's made to get used. Falls right out. Now, when you're doing that, before you release this, put your finger over this hole so that plunger and spring don't fly out of there and skyrocket across the basement or wherever you're working, garage, whatever. Take it out. This stuff slides right out. There it is. Spring and plunger. Notice, long spring, long plunger. My issue I was having yesterday was the gun was already apart, and I didn't see, there's another piece that is exactly like this, except shorter. You do not want the short one, you want the long one, alright? Alright, so in order to put it back together, spring, plunger, and my issue was this. I had already put the firing pin, spring, and all that stuff back in there, therefore the pin was in there. Well, with the pin being in here, it prevents this plunger from going all the way back in here. With that pin in here, it is physically impossible to push that plunger back far enough to get the extractor back into its position. When this pin's not in, you won't be able to see it, but there's a little hole right inside this chamber that's just big enough for the end of this plunger to be pushed back through there to give you enough room to put the extractor back where it's supposed to go. So, long story short, keep the pin out when you're putting the extractor spring and the plunger back in there. It's very simple when you can do it when you don't have that pin in there. Put it in, don't even need any tools. Just push it back in there. That's it. It's seated. It works. Very simple. Next thing you need to do is put the firing pin back together. See this little dark spot right here? That's a little groove. This spring and little plunger that fell out from underneath the firing pin is gonna, this little rounded piece right here is going to go into that little dark spot, that little groove. So you kind of just drop that into the little slot here, give it a couple little shakes, and it'll seat right in that groove. Next is the firing pin. This is your groove, or this is your bolt. Here's your firing pin. It's going to go in like this. Okay. See this little edge right here? That edge is going to go right behind that spring. So when you drop it in, you want to drop it in a little farther back so that the edge can catch on that spring. So drop it in a little to the back and then just push forward a little with your thumb. Next, this little hole, putting the pin back in there. Make sure it's lined up. You might have to push on the firing pin a little bit to be able to put the pin through. Once the pin through, just make sure it's not going to fall out. Also, you might want to push on the back of the firing pin a little bit. Make sure it moves. See it moving there. Next is this spring. Very simple. Like I said, if you guys are already watching this video, you probably already know how to put all this other stuff back together. Just sit that in that groove right there. Push it down. Might need to pull back on this a little bit. It'll clip right in. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. If I wouldn't pause the video so many times, it would have probably took me no more than 5 minutes to take this all the way apart and right back together. Well, that's all I got. Make sure you don't have that little pin in there. That'll mess your whole thing up. Thanks for watching.